let me dive into kind of how the race played out. There's one very crucial moment that I'm excited to get into. But yeah, this was definitely the first race I've ever won. First race I've ever even gone into thinking I might win. And so it kind of took a whole other strategy that I'm not quite used to. Usually when I'm going into a race, I'm like, let's just finish this thing. And I might have a time goal or a distance goal or something. But actually like going out and like having some strategy as it pertains to like trying to beat other people, I've never done that before. So it was just a totally different experience. And it was fun. It added like a whole new element to the race, which was cool. But because of that, I went out too fast, for sure, way too fast. I was at the front of the pack when the race began, and I think there was like two guys in front of me, and they were cruising. You gain like 500 feet within the first 2 miles or so it's like pretty steep, and we just ran the whole thing. Like normally, I'd probably be power hiking that, but we were just running. I was sweating, heart rate was already high, and I'm like, man, I know I'm going out too fast, but I want to keep up with the lead pack. I don't want them to get too far ahead of me, and I probably shouldn't have done that in hindsight. I probably didn't need to. Definitely didn't need to in hindsight, but I did it anyways. And I just felt like not good for the first hour or two. And my nutrition plan for every race, every training run ever is take a gel every 30 minutes. And we got to that first 30-minute mark, and a gel just sounded terrible. My stomach was like full. My heart rate was really high. I'm also coming from basically sea level here in Austin, straight up to 8,300 feet up in the mountains. I didn't have any time to acclimate or anything, so I could feel the elevation quite a bit, and I just didn't feel very good. I also ate or drank a banana fruit smoothie like 2.5 hours before the race started. A huge smoothie. It was, I don't know, probably like 30 or 40 ounces. Way too big of a smoothie to be drinking that close to a race, and I just didn't give my body and my stomach enough time to process it, I think. And so I have this smoothie sitting in my throat. I'm at elevation, not quite acclimated. I'm pushing probably way too hard at the beginning of the race. I'm a little nervous because I'm trying to push and win this race. So there's a lot of elements, and I just didn't feel very good. So 30 minutes in, tried to take a gel, or I thought about taking a gel, didn't end up taking it. I was like, all right, let's just wait till the hour mark. Maybe everything will settle down. Got to the hour mark. Same thing. Knew I needed to take a gel, but just didn't feel like I could. And I'm like, man, I've got 12 hours to run. If I got to get fuel in, otherwise I'm going to bonk later on if I can't start fueling. So I forced a gel down. It was a Morton. Never had any issues with Morton. Never had any stomach problems during a race ever. This is my first time ever having stomach issues. So this is all new. This is happening within the first hour. I got the gel down, felt about the same, just kind of sick, didn't feel great, just very full. And then, so it's 8-mile loops. I finished the first 8-mile loop about an hour and 20 minutes. So I sat down for a quick sec, refilled my water, grabbed more gels, and took off. Didn't say anything to my mom or anybody else. I was just like, okay, my stomach's feeling weird, but I think it should go away. So just internalize that. And then got to the 90-minute mark. Still didn't feel like taking a gel. I was like, all right, maybe I'll just wait till the 2-hour mark. And then by this time, it started getting dark out. And because we started at 6:30 p.m., like I mentioned earlier. So it started getting dark. The sun was setting. Hit the 2-hour mark. Tried taking another gel. This was the Spring Energy Awesome Sauce. Don't get me started on Spring Energy, but it's 80 calories roughly. They taste good. It's fuel. So I wanted to switch it up and see if I could get one of those down. And I got it down, but then about, 30 to 45 seconds later, I'm still running, and I just feel this like the retching coming on. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to throw up. I just kept running. I thought it might go away. And in the middle of running, it just came out of me. I had to pull over off the side of the trail. There's people in front of me, people behind me. I didn't want to puke on them, obviously. So pulled off to the side of the trail, heaved and puked a good bit once. Thought it was going to be done. Kept walking for a bit. Puked again. Kept walking for a bit. Pulled out my phone, took a video of the third one because I was like, you know what? I'm out here running this and throwing up in the middle of the race. This feels like something I should maybe document. So got a good video of the third one that's on my Instagram and my YouTube if anybody cares to watch me vomit. I apologize if you have already seen it, but threw up 3 times. And I've never felt so crappy in the middle of a race. I'm like, dude, we're 2 hours into this 12-hour race. We're like 10 or 12 miles in. We've got a long ways to go. And I'm already puking. I can't get gels down. Even like trying to drink water or electrolytes, I couldn't do it. And I was only like 2 miles from like the start-finish area. And I'm like, man, I could just walk back and just call it quits. And, you know, take a DNF essentially and say, you know what, it wasn't my day. I was having stomach problems. And we're just not going to keep running. But as I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? It's a long race. A lot can happen. A lot can change. Let's just walk. Let's just slow our pace for a bit. We'll just drink some water, sip on some water. Maybe we'll get some like Coke or ginger ale at the next aid station and see if this thing goes away. But all these things are going through my head. And I'm like, did I eat something weird? Did I like drink some bad milk? Did I like, what is going on with my stomach? Like, I couldn't figure it out. I've never had this issue before. Did I get like food poisoning from when we ate out the night before? I was trying to remember everything I ate the last like 24 hours. If I might have gotten sick from somebody, and I just couldn't think of anything other than like the smoothie thing. And yeah, all this is going through my head, and I'm just like, man, I could be sick. I have every excuse to not keep running. I have every excuse to DNF, to go home, take a shower, rest up, feel better later. But I'm like, you know what? We're in a low right now. Let's just be patient, and maybe it'll go away. So I just kept walking. I gave it a good like hour before taking any gels. I was kind of just sipping on some water. At the next aid station, I had a Sprite and some Coca-Cola. And I think the carbonation and just a little bit of calories kind of helped. But I still was iffy on the gels. And so I think it was like an hour to 90 minutes after throwing up that I finally tried taking another gel. I started to feel a little bit better. And then got the gels down fine. The sickness feeling went away. And I was able to pick my pace back up. And I felt much, much better. The first 20 miles I ran with this kid named Noah. Noah Westfall, I believe is his last name. This 18-year-old kid from some small town in Wyoming. He like recognized me from Instagram or YouTube and introduced himself to me, and we ran the first 20 miles together. And I like just being with somebody and like having a conversation and chatting with somebody helped so much. And this kid, he's 18 years old, running his very first ultramarathon. He said he like saw my YouTube video from that same race in 2020, and that kind of inspired him to run the race too. So a really cool story. And I ran the first 20 miles with him. And he like, when I was throwing up, he kind of like waited on me and was like, dude, you all right? Like making sure I was good. So thanks, Noah. I appreciate it, man. And then, yeah, so got some gels down, got some soda, kept running, picked the pace back up, and then around like mile 20-ish, I just all of a sudden I felt really good. I think I just realized like, okay, I think we're back in it. We're back in the game. And I just let out this big like primal scream, like a yee-hoo, something like that in the middle of the mountains. It's like close to midnight at this point, and or maybe not that late. It's probably like 10 or 11 p.m., but it was dark out in the middle of the mountains. Just let out this big scream, and I'm like, man, I feel good. I had some adrenaline going, and from there, I just picked up the pace. I think at this point, I was around 5th or 6th place, and I just started picking people off past one guy. That gave me a ton of confidence. I was like, okay, we're feeling good. Let's keep going. Past another person, I'm in like 4th place. Past somebody else, I'm in 3rd place. I was like, okay, I don't think 1st and 2nd place are probably far behind or far ahead now. So kept pushing, passed the guy in 2nd place, passed the guy in 1st place. And around, I think mile 23 is when I moved into 1st place. And when I passed them, they were walking. It was like going up this like slight incline. And I was like, I saw their headlamp up ahead. And I was like, all right, let's just keep pushing. I'd probably normally walk this section, but I know he's right there. I know if I pass him going uphill, just gonna take his soul. So I I pressed the gas and passed him and moved into 1st place right around the 24-mile mark. And I was feeling good. I was like, okay, we threw up like 2 hours ago and we just moved into first place. We can win this dang thing. So first place, 24 miles in, I came into the like main start finish aid station, switched my shoes out. I wore the Saucony Exodus Ultra 3 for the first 24 miles. My first time ever wearing Saucony trail shoes. I love Saucony road shoes, but they had sent me these trail shoes to try out, and I was real iffy on testing them out first time in a race, but I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. If anything, like the way the race is set up, it's easy to switch shoes, after like an hour or something. So wore them for the first 24 miles. Absolutely loved them. I would highly recommend checking out the Saucony Exodus Ultra 3. Very good shoes. I personally prefer a wider shoe for the trails, and these are definitely a bit wider than other shoes I've worn, which is great. Great tread. I think it's a 6mm drop, which is, I think, perfect for the trails. I think that's the same as Speedlands, which is probably my all-time favorite trail shoe. So you don't get too big of a drop. They're nice and wide. They feel stable, good amount of cushion and support. So I'm a big fan of those Saucony shoes. But at the 24-mile mark, roughly around halfway, I wanted to just switch into some fresh shoes, and I switched to the Speedlands. Freaking love the Speedlands. I think probably one of the best trail shoes of all time. There's just something about them that they feel so natural, and the BOA system is amazing. When I have to go and lace up a pair of shoes after using the BOA system, it feels like I'm like a caveman, like I'm stepping back in time to like the Stone Age, having to manually lace up my shoes instead of just twisting the BOAs. So what a privilege it is to have the BOA system. Mile 24, switched out shoes, went out for another 8-mile lap. And the cool thing with the way this race is set up is it's a washing machine style. So like it's an 8-mile loop, but each 8-mile loop you reverse and go back the other way. So you're basically doing like out and backs essentially the whole time. So you go one direction, one way, and you finish that loop, and then you go back that same way. So you're always alternating directions. And because of that, say I come into the aid station first, I do my thing at the aid station, I leave the aid station, I can see the other runners coming back in because now I'm going against the grain of where they're coming in, so I can see how big of a lead I have. And at this point, I had maybe like a 15-minute lead, which is pretty cool. So I was like, okay, again, gave me more confidence. Maybe we can actually win this thing. But let's keep pushing. Let's see how big of a gap we can make and how big of a lead we can create. So pushed really hard on this fourth lap from mile 24 to 32. Again, came into that main aid station mark at mile 32. As I left, I was like, okay, whenever, like, I can do the math in my head of when I see the next runner coming in for how big of a lead I'm going to have. And I didn't see somebody for like 30 minutes, meaning I had like an hour-long lead ahead of second place. So we were just cruising. I felt so good. And again, this is like 4 or 5 hours after throwing up. So I'm like, we're in a good spot right now. I didn't want to let up. I wanted to just keep pushing the gas, keep getting as big of a lead as I could, because I'm like, if we just create a giant lead, like I get to hour 11 and I can just basically walk the rest of the thing. And so that's kind of my strategy. I think it was at like 2 or 3 a.m. I left one of the aid stations, and one of the volunteers running the aid station was like, hey, just a heads up. I think I saw a mountain lion like a 1/10 of a mile up the trail just a few minutes ago. And I'm like, what? Like, I wish he wouldn't have told me, because then that's all I could think about for the next like 5 hours. I was like, oh shit, I hope I don't see a mountain lion out here. What am I going to do if I see a mountain lion? Like, I'd rather run into a bear or a snake or a fox or some other type of animal. But a mountain lion, I don't know how much you guys know about mountain lions, but you only see a mountain lion if they want you to see them. And usually the only time you're going to see one is if you're about to be attacked. And the guy at the aid station was like, I'm 99% sure it was a mountain lion. All I saw was its tail. He's like, it was a 3-foot long tail walking into the trees, and it had a black tip on it. And that's a dang mountain lion. And so I was a little worried for the next 5 to 6 hours after after hearing that. But we didn't see any mountain lions, fortunately. I was by myself basically the whole race, or the whole back half of the race. And so like every few minutes I'd just yell out like, hey bear, hey, mountain lion, whatever, just make some noise, let myself be known on the trails. And I didn't see anything other than a few deer. I saw maybe like probably 4 or 5 different herds of deer. And gosh, they would freak me out every time I'd see them because it's pitch black outside. All you have is this like beam of light from the headlamp, and you just get this little spot on the ground essentially. And you're looking down for rocks and roots, make sure you're not tripping on anything. And occasionally I just glance up, look around me, and you just see these like sets of eyes in the trees. And again, at this point, I'm worried about seeing a mountain lion. So I'd see these sets of glowing eyes, and I'm like, oh no, what is that? Please be a deer or something. And it always was a deer, fortunately. And there's just a couple deer just chilling in the grass at like 2 a.m, just being cute and harmless. But when you're afraid of mountain lions and bears, seeing eyes is always a little sketchy. So no animals, fortunately, other than some deer. I also saw, I guess, a couple of mice run across the trail, a lot of squirrels, a couple like birds hanging out on the ground. I think those are like grouse or something. But yeah, so that adds an element to it. That's just something running in the mountains a lot of people, I think, don't think about. If you don't run in the mountains a lot, if you don't trail run a lot, like especially a race like this, it's all in the dark. So you're in the dark, you're in the mountains, you're tired, you're sleep deprived. And if you've never done that, it adds all these elements. It adds more mental energy that you have to use. And not only are you running, trying to perform well, but you have these things of like, are there mountain lions? Are there deer? Are there snakes? I don't know. You got to be on the lookout for all these things. And again, because you're in the dark on a trail, you got to make sure you're not tripping on things. I think I only actually stumbled like one time, and I just looked down at my watch for a little bit too long, trying to look at like my mileage or something, and tripped on a rock, caught my toe on a rock, and I didn't fully fall, but like I definitely stumbled, and I was like, okay, snap me back into it, pay attention. So you just can't wander too much. You got to really be paying attention during these races. But yeah, I just each lap that I finished, again, I was able to see how big of a lead I had. Lead kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I came in, finished my 6th lap, which would be 48 miles. And at that point, there was only about an hour left in the race. It was like 11 hours in, and I knew I had the win, but I wanted to try and get at least 50 miles. One, because it just seemed like a good round number to try and hit. And second, my mom jokingly was like, if you don't get 50 miles on my 50th birthday, then you're walking back home. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. So I went out and did another basically 3 miles, just walked most of it just to get the distance. And yeah, we ended up getting 51 miles total. Second place came in at 46 miles. So a great day at the office, you might say. Very happy with my performance, very happy with how everything went. Yeah, first win in the books. I can't complain about it.